thing is, I'm pretty frustrated. I'm getting tired of messing with it. I'm gonna see maybe if I can just buy a brand new one. It's like 150 bucks and throw this shit in the trash. If you guys want to see more of these finds out, I will start documenting them. But yeah, that's a pretty sweet car. Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful Friday morning. We are going to go see what my grandpa's doing and get back on a project that I have not really messed with since Father's Day and the big storm rolled through. And I've got the axles redone, transmission done for it. It's time to take care of a little bit of repair. So let's see what I got. All right, so here's where we're at. Right before the big storm of Father's Day, Connor and I pulled the axles out of this thing to swap them over to a different set of axles to change the gearing on it because of the future things I've got doing. So let me show you what I'm wanting to do. So on the old K5, it may look as if it's pretty rusty, and on the outside it is. But what we have on the bottom is we have all this flaky kind of rust where water and moisture's bubbled up, and it's starting the decaying process. But as you can see, I can wipe that off. So my plan is I have a sandblaster. I was gonna wire brush the bottom of this thing and do all that stuff, but I think the sandblaster is probably gonna do the most work. And my goal here is I'm gonna redo the inside wheel wells and paint them. I'm gonna try to preserve as much of this body underneath as I can, because with the rear axle and the gas tank and all that, it's going to make it really hard to get in here and get to this stuff. So now, if I'm gonna do it, now is the time. So that's what I'm working on today. I'm gonna try to sandblast basically from the middle back, get it blasted, get it painted. But I know from the outside, this thing looks like it's in pretty rough shape, but I've looked at a lot of these Blazers, and this one really isn't as bad as you think it is. It's just mainly on the outside. And they make all the stuff, quarters. I mean, really, this side needs a quarter on it. I've got all the rockers. I'm going to change those frame mounts up there. I mean, but really, this truck's in pretty darn good shape. You know, it's just got the engine and all the drivetrains out, and we almost have every piece to put it back together. So this is the next step. That's what we're working on. Let's get it done. All right, so after a few hours of preparation, here's what we've got. We have one of those Harbor Freight, I can't remember the specifications on it, but it's one of these sandblasters. It's kind of old. I got this from my friend Jared. I'd appreciate it. I appreciate the tool. I hope it works better than the pump-up sprayer you gave me. But yeah, so far so good. Matt and I tested it. It had some like pool sand or something in it last night. But this is what I'm using in it because I'm blasting metal with rust. The black oxide 70 grit. It's what I read online that they put in them. I think it'll probably work out pretty good. So let's get this stuff in there. I don't want to waste it. I hope 50 pounds will do it. So this video today is brought to you in part by the large middle finger of Mother Nature by donating a south wind to us to blow this tarp out of the way 3,700 times. So I think I finally got that beat. We're in the midst of filling this with sand steel, but that way I'm thinking this will work pretty good. When all the dust falls and sand and everything, I can sweep it back up, put it back in. Trip number 3. I'm thankful that this is only a mile and a half away, so let's go get something. I get the smaller one? Oh, that's a parts cleaner. So I got a new abrasive blasting valve, as that other one is. I really think it's the problem. Got some new gloves. Got to keep the old grandpa primed and ready to go. So yeah, let's hope this works. I got all my stuff back on. Got the new dead valve on, or dead head valve, whatever they call it, and got under there, got in position, blew the side of the hose out. So I am going to disconnect my valve, disconnect the hose, and I'm gonna go down there and buy a brand new one, because like I said, it's getting stuff out of the hose, but this hose is no good. I mean, you got to have kind of a special hose, and I just think the whole thing is this. I think it's got rust inside of it, and I think the hose is no good. I mean, a piece of that hose is probably gonna cost 60, 70, I don't know, probably 40 bucks. I can get a brand new Sandblaster for 90 bucks. So I'm just throwing this whole mess in the trash, starting over. So I don't know if you guys can see or not. Let me come out here in the light. I've got it zoomed in pretty good. But I think the culprit is that old hose is coming apart, and it's stopping everything up. So, like I said, I don't know. It's kind of hard. Do I just buy a new one or just go down and get a new hose for it? But yeah, that's got that stopped. Well, made the purchase on a brand new one. But to even add more icing on the cake, check it out. I picked up a nasty looking bolt. Oh yeah, that's in there pretty darn good. It's a good day. All right, there's the new one. Seems to be working. There's the old one we borrowed the water to air. I'm trying to think of what it's called, but I can't. My mind's not working. Keeps the water from getting inside there. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work?
Oh yeah.
Think so?
Hope so.
Here we go. So I think I've called it for the day, but that's what it looks like as of right now, compared to with that crud. So it's getting there, but man, you don't think about how much crud is underneath a vehicle like this. Like that's how good it looks over there. And it's none of its holes that's like completely rusted through the body, but it's stuff that needs to come off. And I mean, the stuff is flying out of this thing, but I'm just gonna keep going until I get it where I'm satisfied with it. So, but yeah, it's still not, even with a new one, it's still not working that well, but we'll get there. Good morning. It's round 2. I'm trying to blast the bottom of the K5 Blazer. Decided why not dust the old motorhome off. If you listen, the power steering is howling, so I think I got to put some fluid. I did buy some fluid for it, and I forgot all about it. So we're gonna get this howling dude over here headed back to my grandpa. So here's where I'm at. Okay, I'm about $200 into this media blasting thing. I mean, we've already wasted another hour and a half, and it's not hardly spraying nothing. It seemed like it's getting clogged up. Like I said, we've got a rubber mallet. We're beating on the bottom of it, on the cylinder itself. It just will not hardly spray at all. Let me show you the pressures I'm using. Now this air compressor right here should be enough. I'm averaging about 100 PSI. I've turned this up to where it's running 120, which it says do not go over that much pressure, and it's staying pretty consistent with what I'm spraying. And then we're running right at 100 on the gauge, and all I can get out of this thing is just barely spraying. But if I pull the tip off here, it'll just run sand like crazy. We're taking and beating on the bottom of this to get the sand mixed up, and it may spitter and spatter and put out a little bit of sand. But it is just, I mean, I shouldn't need an industrial size air compressor to run this, and this is the best it's gonna do. Like, I mean, the rust isn't even all the way off. So I don't know, I'm gonna get the wire brush and the sandpaper and finish the job, because already we've got about 9 hours into this, and I could have took 9 hours and used, like I said, use a drill and a wire brush and sandpaper. I could have done just as good a job. and now I'm $200 wasted. And I don't know. I'm just gonna throw this whole mess in the trash. But yeah, we're done with this. This is not gonna work. So we'll go back to the old-fashioned way. The other thing, what I'm doing now is I'm using basically a wire brush that goes in your drill, and we're just going to use a drill, get in there and do it by hand. It will do the job. It's just going to take a little bit more time, be a little bit more tricky. Maybe use some sandpaper to get up in the cracks and the crevices. But I think maybe a little bit larger of an air compressor might work, and maybe some larger tips on that deadhead valve. But that's something I'll have to experiment with later. But for now, we're just going to do this, and we're just going to get it done. And I've found sometimes when you're frustrated, the best thing to do is just take a break. So that's what I'm doing with it. So after almost 2 full days of fighting with the blasters, I decided to get the wire brush out and just go to town. Well, I finished the wire brush, cleaned everything, and I have to say, from the scaly mess that this truck was, it's looking a whole lot better. So I've just wiped it down with thinner. I've cleaned as good as I can do. I mean, I just can't do any better than this. Knocked most all the scale off. Ah, that hurt. Did not feel good. But it's looking pretty good. I mean, this had just scaly, like if this thing would have sat for another 5 years, the floor would have been gone. But really, this truck is really solid. All these cross rails are in great shape. There's not one pinhole in any of it. Like, I'm pretty amazed. It's just the outer skin of this body, which is pretty typical for 73 through 75 K5 Blazers and C10s. But man, basically the box of this thing is ready. So I'm just gonna let this sit and air out, and come back. I'm gonna get a roller, some paint brushes, start rolling the old POR 15 on. Then I'll take and touch it up with the brush, and then we'll hit it with some of the rattle can stuff to get the spots we can't get to. But I mean, it's not perfect. I mean, you can't, to do it perfect, you'd have to completely rip this thing apart. And I'm wanting to go camping. I'm wanting to get on the road, and this right here is going to do it pretty good. So let's get some paint, come back, and we'll do the next part. All right, so we're getting to the end of this little job here. I basically got everything rolled and taped, and well, not taped, but like touched up as best I can. Let me show you what I got. So if that will focus, you can still see a few areas where I've got to go in there with a brush. I've ran out of time because I got to go to work, but I've taken a brush, I've rolled all the floor, but I've had to get up in here with a brush and get in all these nooks and crannies, and just been taking my time trying to get everything coated and protected, because as you drive it, all the dust, mud, rain, salt, sleet, it goes in here and it packs up in all these rails, and that's what starts rusting this stuff out. And I mean, I tell you what, when I used the air hose and blew this thing out, I bet I got just a pile of dust and dirt and debris. And over the years, you know, the last, I'd say 25, 30 years this thing's been used, that stuff gets in there and it stays in there. And as the moisture builds, it'll just keep eating away. But yeah, I've got to do the driver's side with the brush. I'm just strictly out of time, so I'll finish that up tomorrow. But that'll be an end for what you guys see on this. The next thing you guys will see is the axles going in at the transmission transfer case. I'm not really doing much on the inside of this body right here, because more than likely I'm gonna have to put quarters on this thing, but not right now. And I could have done a better job if I would completely like body off, restore this. I got to spray some stuff in there and get that cleaned up. But the main thing is get everything up in here, covered up and done. That way I can put the gas tank, all the axles. I got to clean some of the exhaust off. I got paint on it. But that's going to do it on this episode. So again, if you guys like what I'm doing, hit the like, subscribe. There's a notification bell I learned that every time I do something, you guys will know about it. So if you guys can do that, and I'm really trying, we should have this running here pretty quick. So And as always, guys, thank you for checking this out. If you like what I'm doing here, hit that like button, do the notification, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stuff going on. Should have this going here pretty quick. I appreciate you guys watching, and thank you for everything.